Hi guys, my name is Alex Herrmann and the rest of my team will be speaking in just a moment, but we're going to go ahead and jump right into what our project was. So the problem and goal that we had was the consistency across internal and external facing materials was not consistent and standardization did not exist. So the goal that we have set is consistency across internal and external facing materials in order to gain market share. So basically what this consists of is ensuring that the brand is more memorable and that regardless of where consumers or employees are viewing us, they see the same brand across all sorts of platforms. So a good example of this is Coca-Cola. Their brand has a consistent memory, a consistent feeling across regardless of where you see it. So when you see it on a train or you see it at a restaurant or you see it on a commercial, you get that same feeling from Coca-Cola and you see the exact same brand portrayed in the same way, which is what we're trying to do. And so the background of this was that the majority of our marketing department's users were not trained in digital marketing strategies or project management. And this led to no standardization within company branding or customer-facing materials. So a good example of this personally is at my company. I work for a company called Ping Identity, and we are a growing company founded about 10 years ago. And we are struggling with standardization currently as well because we are growing at such a rapid pace that we don't have the ability to standardize processes because we're so focused on growing at this point. So when I picture what our client is like, I picture that our client is facing a similar issue, a much larger organization that's growing rapidly, and they don't have standardization and they just don't have the time for it. So that's why we were brought in. And then we're going to do this by facilitating the workflow approval process and provide a more collaborative environment for monitoring how the brand is used. So the first part of the workflow is the functional decomposition. So the key functions and processes for this involve marketing operations, branding, and design. But first, I want to tell you what the decomposition is and how it relates to the overall process. So it helps manage complexity and reduce uncertainty by breaking down these functions and processes. And the value comes from understanding the relationships within that, which we'll get to in just a second with the relationship diagram. Here you do see a few screenshots of the decomposition. This is not the full decomposition. It can be seen in our appendix. But within operations, two key parts that we're looking at are the analysis for branding and then the OKR creation and security reviews, both of which we'll talk later when we get to our process models. And then within branding, we're looking at the strategy development. This is key to the overall process as well, because without a correct strategy, consistency is not going to exist. And then within design, design is kind of the ones making this all happen in terms of the branding being consistent, looking at our website and our marketing materials, which we'll look at on the next slide for just a brief second. So within our workflow, we have 5 key processes. The first one is performing the analysis. So we're looking at our current strategy, which is obviously not successful. And then we're pulling insights from that so that we can go on to the next step, which is strategy development. And after we develop the strategy, the next part is to do the website redesign. And we want to do the website first versus the rest of the marketing materials first, because it is 2018 and the website should be the core focus of our brand, because people go to a website to look at a brand before they purchase a product. Excuse me. And so after we organize the website and we get the website redesigned, then we can redesign the marketing materials. And then the final step, which is something that we'll be doing consistently, is the OKR creation and security reviews. And these just ensure that we're performing to the organization's goals and that the technology we're using is up to standards.
Hey guys, I'm Grant Schwarber. So there are a few things to point out with the functional relationship diagram. First of all, there is a potential bottleneck in the public relations department, seeing that they must wait on all materials from the step prior in order to be able to do their job most effectively. We are going to manage this by ensuring that the steps are performed on time and get an accurate head count. And then we're also going to hire from an outside firm to develop the media strategy and perform a media outreach while the company manages the rest internally. Some helpful tools that we're using is the OKR system, which will help us ensure that these processes are completed on time and accurately, so that things are completed correctly the first time. And this is also an easier way for people to communicate with others. And that our governance is saying that it's just a standard way of how we do things within the company.
Hi guys, my name is Brett Westerfeld. I'll be talking to you about the process models and a few other things today. The first process model we're looking at is the governance process. And you guys can look at appendix C in the back of the slide deck for the full process model image. The goal of this process is to effectively develop and manage governance practices. The process consists of 13 steps, 1 decision step, and 1 approval step. The first 4 tasks within the swim lane actually are done by the IT employee. This is where most of the work within the process is done. And it's mostly research of other standard governance standards. And they'll report that to IT management, in which IT management will put together a proposal for a governance strategy based on what they've learned. And the executive, the decision step comes from the executive, whether or not he wants to proceed with that governance strategy. If it is proceeded with, then they look for a system to purchase. And then the executive's role usually is pretty heavy in the approval, decision, and reporting at the end of the process. And I think you'll see that really translates through all of our process models. So then the executive will invoke an approval process at the end to purchase that system.
Hi, I'm Tim Shafer. I will be talking to you guys about our user stories for our process models. I'm going to first off just go over what a user story actually is. A user story is a statement of value to a stakeholder or a user and their goal. There will be an approval process, or I'm sorry, an approval step and a decision step. It will demonstrate a level of understanding the need and help the process of developing solutions. It will also contain an acceptance criteria. You can see in this example, the strategy must meet the governance standard. This helps maintain consistency across the brand. This must be met before the process can move forward. Then from there will be an approval or not to approve decision. Governance is a standard. It's developing a standard way of doing things. We want to make sure that processes are easily repeatable. We want to make sure with that there is consistency for the brand and the processes within the business.
The second process we're going to look at is the process model of the security review. The goal with the security review is to thoroughly test and maintain the security of our company's networks, systems, and data. This process consists of 14 steps, 2 of which are decision steps and 1 is an approval step. As you can see from the membership, it is a very top-heavy process. The security team is doing 57% of the work done in this process. And that is because it's a very technical process where the security team will actually be doing the testing and analysis of the network systems, making sure that it's all secure. The decision steps come from management. In this process, the management is mostly in review and monitor mode, where they're just monitoring and making sure the security team is doing the right tests and making sure everything passes through. The executive's role in this process is invoking the approval step at the end to renew the process or to not renew the process.
This is the security review user story. This is kind of related to the internal systems of the company. With this, we want to be able to identify which assets are at risk when purchasing the software and how to protect those exposures when implementing the new software. Just overall with this, we want to ensure our cybersecurity before moving forward with any new software purchases.
The last process model we're going to talk about today is the OKR, which is the objective and key results. The goal with the OKR is to effectively develop, manage, and execute company-wide and personal OKRs. This is a smaller process, only consists of 10 steps. one decision step and one approval step. Being that it is more of a management type process, the management does handle 60% of the work here. The process begins by researching and purchasing a system to handle OKRs and to handle the reporting. And then the IT employees will draft up their personal OKRs, in which the management will invoke the approval process for those OKRs. The executives are deciding on whether they want to purchase the system at the beginning and then looking at the reporting at the end.
And then the last user story we'll be looking at today is the OKR user story. Here, our overall goal is the OKR creation will help keep employees on track and that the brand is evolving. We have to have a system in place to monitor our goals and the results of those goals. And we want to make sure that all of those are being met to develop the level of consistency upon different departments in the digital marketing.
And so moving on to the last step of the workflow process, it involves the business process model. So there's the whole point of the business process model is to bring the organization together and understand how all these pieces are working together and the crucial parts of the organization. So here we're looking at the organization chart, and this consists of all the different roles of a BPM. And three that I want to highlight are the business process experts, which are handling the brand strategy. And so these are the ones responsible for the methodological excellence. So in this case, we want to ensure that the brand strategy is at the highest possible standards, which is why they're responsible for this. If we're looking at the development of the digital and social campaigns, that's going to be the BPM Center of Excellence, because the digital and social campaigns are customer facing. And we want to ensure that that is also the highest level of standard, but they're responsible for the BPM leadership in this case. So we want to ensure that all of the different leaders within this organization, this function, are meeting the highest possible standards. And then finally, the BPM steering committee is the final one that I wanted to point out, and they're responsible for setting and monitoring the BPM strategy. So while data analysis was used to look at our current strategy and revamp, data analysis is consistently going to be performed to monitor how things are performing, how the brand, the new strategy is performing. And so since that's what that is going to be doing, the BPM steering committee is the most fit for that. So that is the organization chart. If we move on, we'll look at the metrics that we've considered. So the OKR system users, so that's the system that we're implementing with the OKR, and we obviously want to be sure that our employees are using this. So we have a goal set around that. And then share of voice is going to show how much of that voice we have within the community alongside brands that are similar in what we do. And then on our website, we're looking at engagement minutes increase. So we measure engagement on our website, and we want to see if our consumers are engaging more than they were before or after we do the new brand strategy. And then the next one is bounce rate. So we want to look at bounce rate and see if people are actually staying on our website and not just leaving our website. So this is important to measure because we want to see if the branding, the website redesign is effective. And then next is form downloads. So we want to get our consumers contact information so we can market to them. So we want to see how the form downloads are performing to previously to see if the new branding strategy is making a difference. And then the final one is the year-over-year sales increase, which we obviously will not be able to measure right away. However, this is going to measure if the consumers moving through the funnel, the marketing funnel, actually decide to purchase whatever it is that our client is offering. And this will kind of show whether or not the digital marketing is really working. And so finally is our short-term plan, which consists of the 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day goals. So this consists of 4 main parts, and the first one is the training. So we have to train all of our employees on the OKR software that we're purchasing and implementing, and just to ensure that they're actually using it. And then implementation, we're going to be implementing governance, which Tim and Brett have talked about, both relate to a standard process. Asset identification is important because we're going to be implementing this so that it's easier to find assets to use for marketing materials. And then we're implementing the new website as well. So we're doing the website redesign. And then we're also implementing a brand new security review process to ensure that the technology we're using is secure and that it meets standards across the world. And then we're going to be monitoring the OKR system. So we're going to be monitoring that people are using it and testing that it is working. And then we're also going to be testing the asset organization to ensure that the way it is set up is the best suited for the organization. So that when someone needs to go get an asset for, let's say, a white paper, they're able to go do that very quickly and save time. And that all goes back to the bottleneck within the functional relationship diagram. If we have this organization set up correctly, then that will reduce the chance of a bottleneck forming. Lastly is the communication. And this is the communication with the OKR vendors. So when we're determining what vendor we're going to go with, we'll be communicating with them. We're also going to be brainstorming internally across the organization, even beyond marketing, how to best perform this and brainstorming the best strategy. And then we're going to be communicating the brain strategy internally to all employees so that way they know why their, for example, email signature is changing, or why the the internal website looks different. And this is just to ensure that whether they're an employee or a consumer, that they're seeing the same brand. And then finally, we're going to be communicating out the new branding to consumers, which will involve that website redesign and then all of the marketing materials redesign as well.
To summarize, and sort of take a step back, we believe that we completed all of these deliverables in a way in which the relationship with each other is fully dependent. We believe this strategy is very important in a project this big because it's easy to get lost and move from one deliverable to the next deliverable and sort of lose that holistic view, making sure that everything translates with each other perfectly. Using that strategy, we believe that the consistency across internal and external facing materials will improve in order to gain that market share. With that being said, since this is a live recorded presentation, we're going to go ahead and scroll through our appendix and pause on each slide, and you guys can feel free to pause it and take a look at our diagrams and models. But thank you to everyone who is tuning in and listening, and to our guest reviewers, and good luck to everyone else.